A week away from the NBA draft, I decided to make one more final updated mock draft with all the recent rumors and reports being considered. The only change that I've decided to do with this mock draft is by naming some teams as trading their pick. So with this being said, with the number 1 pick in the 2020 draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves will trade their pick. As the time passes by, it's becoming more increasingly known to me that the Wolves want to trade their pick in order to get another star to pair up with D'Angelo Russell and Karl-Anthony Towns. I don't really know which team the Wolves are going to be trading with, but I'm going to have to assume that the team that does get the number 1 pick will select Anthony Edwards. So Edwards is the number 1 pick. Edwards currently is a very nice scoring guard, but will need to improve some of the weaknesses in his game, such as his streaky shooting, playmaking, and passing ability. But I'm confident that he'll be able to fix this if he goes to a team that will allow him to develop. With the 2nd pick in the NBA draft, I got the Warriors selecting Deni Avdija. From here on out, I'm sticking base with the Warriors selecting Deni. The Warriors can easily trade this pick, but I see them becoming more intrigued with the potential of Deni's all-around game than trying to potentially get another piece to surround Klay, Steph, and Draymond. Being 6'9", the way that Deni is able to move and score around the floor, it's almost as if how a guard plays the game. He handles the ball very well for his size, finishes extremely well around the rim whether he decides to either drive in or do a post-up, and can surprise many people with the decent athleticism that he poses. The 2 big questions that will be posed surrounding Deni is that will he be able to continue to improve his 3-point shooting, and will he be able to guard multiple positions on the defensive end. With Deni going to the Golden State Warriors, they will take their time in progressing him to the adjustment of playing in the NBA. I can easily see his 3-point percentage continuing to increase. But as for guarding multiple positions on the defensive end, I don't know if he'd be able to reach that level. We just gotta pay attention to it. With the 3rd pick, I have the Hornets selecting James Wiseman. At this point, I'm switching back and forth with Wiseman in every one of these videos because I truly have no idea or belief with what the Hornets are going to want to do here. I know there's been reports of the Hornets being extremely interested in Okongwu, but a part of me believes that this is a classic example of a false rumor being put out there to try and scare and worry the actual teams that are interested in drafting Okongwu a little bit lower in the draft. With Wiseman being on this Hornets team, they will have a very good and young 1-2 punch with Devontae Graham and James Wiseman. Wiseman can finish around the post, can dive on the screens being set for Graham, and is arguably the best rebounder and rim protector in the 2020 draft. Wiseman will need to continue to improve his shooting, especially from the 3-point line if he wants to be seen as an elite big man in the NBA, but this is a very nice place to begin with for Wiseman and the Hornets. With the 4th pick in the draft, I have the Chicago Bulls selecting Lamelo Ball. The Bulls are going to be more interested in being able to get Deni, but I just don't see him being available at the 4th spot. Instead, the Bulls pick Ball, whose mini slide in the draft will end here. Lamelo Ball is a talented point guard that has notable strengths and weaknesses. Ball's main strengths coming into the league will be that he can create shots and handle the ball at a high level compared to most of the other guards in the draft. But the 2 main concerns, ironically enough, are similar to what his brother had when coming out of college. Lamelo this past season in the NBL didn't shoot the ball well, and scouts are extremely down on his defensive ability. But like Edwards, I think it's more about Ball and Edwards not playing with much effort at times on the defensive end. This isn't good in itself, but I don't actually believe that Ball or Edwards are bad defenders. They just need to get coaches that will make sure to get the best out of them. As for his shooting, this is a huge worry. If Ball isn't able to improve his jump shot, this can be a situation where he's an actual liability on the court. However, due to the lack of other potential stars and also need/fit, I see the Bulls willing to take the risk and try to have Billy Donovan develop Ball's growth in a similar fashion to what he did with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in Oklahoma. I still have the first real big change in the mock draft being with the Cavs, but this time around, they're going to select Onyeka Okongwu. The Cavaliers are going to move on from Andre Drummond in a sign-and trade to whichever team Drummond wants to sign with, and will move on with honestly the biggest mystery potential in this draft with Okongwu. Okongwu, like Bam, played very similar in college. They're both very athletic big men who are able to rebound and protect the rim at a very high level, and both of them were great at running the floor and getting easy scoring opportunities. However, Okongwu has a way to go before he can be labeled as a Bam type impact player. Okongwu showed flashes of playing similar to Bam this past season, but he will need to continue to improve his ball handling ability and the ability to make the pass to open teammates on a consistent basis, not just a couple of times in a game. One other area to pay attention to with Okongwu is how his 3-point shooting develops. Okongwu showed the ability to hit the mid-range jumper at a good percentage, but in the very few attempts he took from 3, he didn't shoot well. But with this Cavaliers team, who will give Okongwu all the chances to learn and develop alongside a relatively young team besides Kevin Love, I can really see Okongwu being able to reach at or near the same level as Bam. With the 6th pick in the draft, the Atlanta Hawks will select Tyrese Haliburton. I was close to saying that the Hawks would trade their pick, but instead I see the Hawks wanting to get a guard duo to go with Trae Young. The Hawks are looking to get Young some help, and Tyrese can be just that guy. In his second season with the Cyclones, he managed to be involved in a little bit of everything. He's excellent in the pick and roll action, he has an extremely underrated handle, and probably has the second best vision in the draft behind Lamelo Ball. He has such an all-around game, but 2 aspects to his game that's holding him back from being a top 5 or maybe even a top 3 prospect in this year's draft. It's his shooting and the somewhat lack of athleticism that he poses. Tyrese not being the most athletic guard in the world is concerning, but I can see Tyrese being able to negate this due to how crafty he plays the game. As for his shooting, Tyrese shot well from the 3-point line, but it's his form that's concerning. It's extremely funky and with a somewhat flat release. Regardless, with the 6th pick and considering the shooting talents that Atlanta has, Trae Young, Kevin Huerter as just some of the names, this would still be a great pick regardless of the worries. With the 7th pick in this year's draft, I have the Detroit Pistons selecting Killian Hayes. Nothing different from the Pistons here in my opinion. After trading away Derrick Rose in this upcoming offseason, they will look for a guard, and getting Killian Hayes to go alongside Luke Kennard and Christian Wood would be a really nice young core. While Tyrese and LaMelo may have the better all-around potential, Killian would be the best scoring guard in this draft. His feel on the offensive game is unreal. The way that Killian uses his body, reading what the defense gives him, and creating shots for himself and his teammates is comparable to how D'Angelo Russell, Goran Dragic, and even James Harden. My only true concerns with Killian is again his shooting form. His elbow is a little too far out extended at the latter end of his release, and his on-ball defense. Killian is a great team defender, but currently not the best on-ball defender. But for now, this is a great start for the Pistons to go with. With the 8th pick in the draft, I'm going back to my original draft selection with Devin Vassell. Thankfully, after one of my viewers had told me that the Devin Vassell workout clip was just him screwing around, I can see Vassell being a great fit for the Knicks. Considering that the New York Knicks ranked 23rd in the league for defensive efficiency, they clearly need to add some more defensive pieces to their team. But at the same time, they need to add more shooting pieces to surround RJ Barrett, due to his current inability to shoot the ball that well. As a result, Vassell is another one of these 3-and-D defenders that proved to be so huge in the playoffs, and Vassell would look to make the same impact. He isn't going to be a player that you're banking on to develop into a special type of player, but considering the Knicks' current needs and defensively minded Coach Tibbs, this would be the best pick to make right here. With the 9th pick in the draft, I still see the Wizards selecting Aaron Nesmith. Obi was tempting, but I can't see them selecting him and potentially stunting Hachimura's growth. Aaron Nesmith instead will be that type of player that will be able to contribute from day one and still have some potential in him. I still love the Buddy Hield comparison that Nesmith is getting. The Wizards really don't need any one particular position, but the one thing that they badly need is shooting. Considering that the Wizards were ranked in the lower half this past season in 3-pointers made, and that Bertans is a free agent that could easily leave, this doesn't help their situation. John Wall, a career streaky shooter coming back, doesn't help either. Nesmith, this past season in college, shot the 3-point clip at a very high rate, whether it was catch and shoot, coming off the screen, or creating the shot for himself. And probably the most important thing is the fit factor. Both Wall and Beal will be commanding the ball for the most part. Nesmith will be there as a threat from distance and making it easier for both Wall and Bradley Beal to go to work. With the 10th pick in the draft, the Phoenix Suns will select Obi Toppin. Obi's slide finally comes to a halt, and this is largely due to the unknown future of Kelly Oubre and Dario Saric. As a result, the Suns will look to select Toppin largely as a replacement, and he would be a nice replacement at that. Toppin will take that role that Oubre had this past season as being the third scorer, and Toppin shouldn't struggle at all with that role due to his great versatility on the offensive end. He proved to be a good shooter, he's extremely athletic at finishing around the rim, and even showed some ability of handling the ball. The area that Toppin really struggles comes through on the defensive end, but considering how the Suns' defensive rating was the 4th best in the bubble, they will currently ignore Obi's weaknesses on this end. With the 11th pick in the draft, the Spurs will select Isaac Okoro. The Spurs have been known to take the best player / the player with the most potential left, regardless of fit. I see them doing this here with Isaac. While Okongwu is the biggest mystery, Isaac is the biggest risk. Isaac proved to be an extremely good defensive piece, but the main problem is that his shooting is lagging far behind. Most of Isaac's production came from being able to slash to the rim. But how defenses in the NBA will be prone to allow Isaac to shoot instead of being able to slash, it's going to be extremely interesting to see how this plays out. But considering how the Spurs have taken their time with their young players and always try to get the player with the most potential, Isaac going to the Spurs could be the best thing that happens to him. With the 12th pick in the draft, I have the Kings still selecting Saddiq Bey. In my opinion, there's a very good chance that the Kings will be trading Buddy Hield in the offseason, and Bogdanovic might be leaving as well, with teams such as the Bucks being heavily interested in him. As a result, Saddiq would be the replacement for at least one of these guards. He is another one of these 3-and-D defenders that will fit very well with De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley. He shot very well from the 3-point line in his collegiate career and showed good regards on the defensive end. Considering that Saddiq will probably be much less of a headache than what Buddy was this past season, the Kings will be trying to knock inside of the playoffs if everything goes the right way for them. With the 13th pick, I have nothing changing with the Pelicans selecting Patrick Williams. The Pelicans don't really need to pick any player that has high potential. What they really need is somebody that can contribute from day one, and they badly need some defense. The Pelicans were exposed on the defensive end in the bubble, and Patrick Williams will be able to massively help this. Williams can play at the 3 or the 4 position as a 3-and-D defender in providing spacing on the offensive end for players such as Brandon Ingram to go to work, and in the situation where Drew Holiday might get traded, providing defense to a potentially bad defensive team. With the final pick in the lottery, the Celtics will again pick Jalen Smith. This is pretty common sense for me here. The Celtics struggled in the playoffs against opposing centers, such as Bam, and they just didn't have the interior rim protection. Jalen is an athletic rim protector who averaged 2.5 blocks per game, but also showed the ability to shoot the 3-point shot, which is something that they haven't had in their forward position since Al Horford and even Aaron Baines. This would be a smart pick here from the Celtics if they did this. So this is my draft. I made some changes, I listened to the feedback. Let me know what you guys think. Until next time, peace.